There was a woman named Najma who had learned to accept that certain dreams die slowly, fading like photographs left too long in sunlight until they become unrecognizable ghosts of what they once were. She was 43 years old, a widow who had lost her husband to illness 7 years ago, and a mother to 3 children who are now grown and starting their own lives. Najma worked as a librarian at the city's main library, a job she loved for the quiet solace it provided, for the way books created a world where she could still imagine possibilities that her real life no longer seemed to offer. In the years since her husband's death, Najma had slowly rebuilt her life around a simple routine: work, prayer, caring for her elderly mother, spending time with her children and grandchildren when they visited. She had made peace with the idea that romantic love was a chapter that had closed for her, that at 43 and with a complicated life history, she was past the age when such things happened. She told herself she was content with this reality, that she had already experienced marriage and motherhood, and that was enough blessing for one lifetime. What Najma didn't know, as she shelved books and helped library patrons and lived her quiet, contained life, was that someone had noticed her in a way that went beyond casual observation. Someone had fallen in love with her, genuinely and deeply, despite what society would see as an insurmountable obstacle between them. His name was Hamza, and he was 31 years old, 12 years younger than Najma. He was a graduate student working on his doctorate in Islamic studies, spending countless hours at the library researching for his dissertation. He had first noticed Najma about 6 months earlier when he needed help locating some obscure religious texts, and she had not only found them for him, but had engaged him in a knowledgeable conversation about the topic he was researching. Over the following months, as Hamza continued his research at the library, he found himself looking forward to the days when Najma was working. He would ask her for help even when he didn't strictly need it, just to have an excuse to talk to her. He noticed everything about her: the careful way she handled old books, the patience she showed with difficult patrons, the way her face lit up when discussing literature or history, the quiet dignity with which she carried herself. Hamza was not a foolish young man given to superficial crushes. He was mature for his age, had been focused on his studies and his faith, and had turned down several marriage proposals from family members to try to match him with women his own age. There was something about Najma that drew him in a way he couldn't fully explain. A depth, a wisdom, a gentle sadness mixed with genuine kindness that he found infinitely more attractive than the youthful beauty of women his own age. But Hamza was also intelligent enough to understand the complexity of what he was feeling. Najma was 12 years older than him, a widow with grown children, someone who likely saw him as a young student if she saw him at all. The age difference wasn't just a number. It represented different life stages, different experiences, different social expectations. Everything in their society would tell him this was inappropriate, that a man should marry a younger woman, that he was wasting his youth on someone who had already lived much of her life. Yet his feelings only grew stronger as time passed. He found himself praying about it constantly, asking God for guidance, trying to understand if these feelings were from God or from his own nafs, his ego playing tricks on him. God, Hamza would pray during his late-night prayers. I don't understand what I'm feeling. Society tells me this is wrong, that the age difference makes it inappropriate. But when I'm with her, when I talk to her, I feel a peace and a connection I've never felt with anyone else. Is this from you? Is this a test? Please guide me to what is right." Najma remained completely unaware of Hamza's feelings. She was kind and helpful to him as she was to all library patrons, engaging in pleasant conversations but never imagining anything beyond professional courtesy. The thought that this young, educated, handsome man might see her as anything other than a helpful librarian who happened to be around his mother's age never crossed her mind. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon in late October when the library was unusually quiet. Hamza was sitting at his usual research table, but instead of working, he was staring at his laptop screen without really seeing it, wrestling with a decision he had been avoiding for weeks. He had completed extensive research, not just for his dissertation, but on the topic of age differences in marriage within Islamic tradition and contemporary Islamic scholarship. What he had discovered had both encouraged and frightened him. He had learned that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had married Khadija, may God be pleased with her, when she was 40 and he was 25, a 15-year age difference with the woman being older. He had read scholarly opinions stating that if both parties were mature, compatible, and entering marriage with proper intentions, age differences in either direction were not problematic in Islam. He had found numerous examples throughout Islamic history of such marriages being successful and blessed. But he had also confronted the social reality that despite Islamic permissibility, their society would judge harshly, would assume he had ulterior motives, would say he was looking for a mother figure rather than a wife, would pity Najma as a desperate older woman who had somehow entrapped a younger man. Hamza closed his laptop and walked to the section where Najma was organizing returned books. His heart was pounding, his mouth dry, but he had made a decision. "Sister Najma," he said quietly, "could I speak with you for a moment? It's personal, but I promise it's respectful and important." Najma looked surprised, but nodded, leading him to a quieter corner of the library where they could talk without disturbing others, but remained visible to maintain Islamic propriety. "I need to be honest with you about something," Hamza began, his voice shaking slightly. "Over these past 6 months, I've come to have deep respect and admiration for you. More than that, I've developed feelings that go beyond respect. I know this might seem strange or inappropriate given our age difference, but I'm a serious person and I don't say these things lightly. I would like permission to speak with your family about the possibility of marriage." Najma stared at him in complete shock, her mind unable to process what she was hearing. "I'm sorry, what? I want to marry you, Sister Najma. I know I'm younger. I know society will judge. I know you might think I'm being foolish or that I have some ulterior motive. But I've prayed about this extensively. I've researched Islamic rulings on age differences, and I genuinely believe God has placed this in my heart for a reason. I'm not looking for a mother figure, or we're trying to solve some psychological issue. I'm simply a man who has recognized a woman of exceptional character and faith, and I'm asking in the proper Islamic way if I may pursue this." Najma felt like the floor had shifted beneath her feet. "Hamza, you're 12 years younger than me. I have children older than some of your classmates probably are. I'm a widow. I've lived a whole life already. You should be looking at women your own age who can give you children, who can build a future with you." "I've met women my own age," Hamza said gently. "My family has been trying to match me with them for years. But none of them have the depth, the wisdom, the faith that you have. Age is just a number, Sister Najma. What matters is compatibility, character, shared values. And I believe we have those things. As for children, I've researched that too. If God wills, it's still possible. But even if it's not, that's not my primary concern. I want a life partner, someone who understands faith and struggle and how to balance this world with preparation for the next. That's you. Najma shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. You don't understand what you're asking. People will talk. They'll say terrible things about both of us. Your family will be disappointed that you're not marrying someone younger and more suitable. You'll regret this decision when you're 40 and I'm 52. With respect, Sister Najma, those are society's fears, not Islamic objections. The Prophet, peace be upon him, married a woman 15 years older than him, and their marriage was the most blessed in history. As for my family, if they judge based on age rather than character, that's their mistake, not mine. And as for regret, how can I regret marrying someone who makes me better in my faith and my character? Age doesn't change that. Najma sat down heavily in a nearby chair, overwhelmed. I need time to think about this. I never imagined. I don't know what to say. Take all the time you need, Hamza said. I'm not going anywhere. I just needed you to know the truth of what I feel and to ask properly if I may speak with your family. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it completely. Over the following weeks, Najma went through an emotional and spiritual crisis. The safe, contained life she had built was suddenly filled with possibility she had stopped allowing herself to imagine. But with that possibility came fear. Fear of judgment, fear of being hurt again, fear that Hamza would eventually realize he had made a mistake. She confided in her closest friend, an older woman named Sister Fatima, who had known her for decades. What should I do? Najma asked, crying. Part of me wants to say yes immediately because he seems so sincere, so mature, so faithful. But another part of me is terrified. What if he changes his mind? What if his family rejects me? What if people say I'm taking advantage of a young man? Sister Fatima listened carefully before responding. Let me ask you something. When this young man talks about faith, when he expresses his reasoning, does it resonate with Islamic principles or with worldly logic? Islamic principles, Najma admitted. He referenced the Prophet's marriage to Khadija. He talked about prioritizing character over age. He approached me properly and respectfully. And when you think about society's judgment, is that based on Islamic guidance or on cultural prejudice? Cultural prejudice, Najma acknowledged. Islam doesn't forbid age differences in marriage. Then the question is simple, Sister Fatima said. Will you follow what Islam permits and what your heart is telling you? Or will you follow what society dictates out of fear of their judgment? Remember, people will judge you no matter what you do. They judged you for being widowed. They'll judge you if you remain single. They'll judge you if you remarry. Their judgment is constant. It's your response to it that matters. Najma prayed istikhara for 7 consecutive nights, asking God for guidance. And slowly, through prayer and reflection, she came to understand something important. Her fear of the age difference was really a fear of believing she was worthy of love again, a fear that had nothing to do with Hamza and everything to do with her own damaged self-image. After 3 weeks of consideration and prayer, Najma told Hamza he could speak with her family. Her children were shocked initially, But after meeting Hamza and seeing his sincerity and maturity, they gave their support. Mama, her daughter, said, "If he makes you happy and treats you with respect and shares your faith, the age difference doesn't matter. We just want you to be loved and cared for." Hamza's family was more resistant. His mother cried, saying he was throwing away his youth. His father warned that people would talk, but Hamza held firm in his decision, and eventually, his family agreed to meet Najma. When they saw her character, her faith, the way she spoke with wisdom and kindness, their objections softened, though they never fully disappeared. The engagement was announced 6 months after Hamza first confessed his feelings, and the reactions were exactly as they had feared. People talked. Some said Najma had entrapped a younger man. Others said Hamza must have psychological issues. Relatives on both sides expressed disapproval. But through it all, Hamza and Najma remained certain that they were following God's guidance rather than human judgment. They were married in a simple ceremony 8 months after that rainy afternoon in the library. On their wedding night, before anything else, they prayed together and thanked God for bringing them together despite all the obstacles. "I fell in love with you even with the age difference," Hamza told his wife, "not despite it. Your age means you've lived, you've suffered, you've grown in faith and wisdom. Those things made you who you are, and who you are is exactly who I prayed for. Society sees the age difference as a flaw. I see it as part of what makes you perfect for me." Najma cried tears of gratitude and wonder. "I had accepted that this chapter of my life was over. I had convinced myself I was too old, too complicated, too past my time for love. Thank you for seeing me when I had become invisible to myself." Years later, their marriage proved the doubters wrong. They built a life together based on mutual respect, shared faith, and genuine companionship. Hamza completed his doctorate, and Najma supported his academic career while he honored and valued her wisdom and experience. They had one child together, a son born when Najma was 45, a blessing neither had expected but both received with gratitude. When people would express surprise that their marriage was thriving despite the age difference, Hamza would always give the same response: "Age difference is only a problem if you make it one. What matters is that we're matched in faith, in values, in how we see the world. Those things don't change with age, they transcend it." Najma would add, "I wasted years thinking I was too old for certain blessings. But God's mercy and blessings have no age limit. If He wants something for you, He'll make it happen regardless of what society says is appropriate or possible. Trust His plan more than you trust your own limitations. This is the truth. Someone may fall in love with you even with an age difference. And if both parties are mature, compatible in faith and character, and entering the relationship with proper intentions, that age difference is irrelevant by Islamic standards. Society will judge, family may object, people will talk. But God's guidance is clearer than human prejudice, and what He permits and blesses, no human opinion can diminish. Don't limit God's mercy by accepting society's narrow definitions of who can love whom, when, and at what age. Love guided by faith transcends numbers, transcends expectations, transcends everything except God's will.